welcome in. We are rolling through, even though I know that a lot of you may be a little bit bleary-eyed, although I would also bet that based on the fact that Baylor took control of this game and never really slowed down, that a lot of you turned off the television early in the second half when maybe you thought, hey, I don't really have the sense that the Zags are ever going to make a real run here. And they never did. This, of course, the OutKick Studios, right off the top, let me tell you, Triller Fight Club event is happening soon on April 17th with Jake Paul squaring off against Ben Askren. And you have the opportunity to win a free trip to Atlanta to be there live for Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. Enter for a chance to win airfare for 2 people, hotel accommodations, and tickets to the ultra-exclusive event by going to foxsportsradio.com. Join celebrity royalty like Snoop Dogg, Pete Davidson, Dixie, and others. Plus, be one of only 200 fans to see the top performers like Justin Bieber, the Black Keys, Doja Cat, Diplo, and more. Enter and get rules at foxsportsradio.com by April 6th. That's foxsportsradio.com. I know a lot of people are going to focus on Gonzaga's loss. And there's going to be some people out there who argue that this is just further evidence of the Zags not being able to win a championship and they're overrated and they don't play a tough enough conference. That argument's going to be out there. But I don't think that's fair. They've been to 2 national championship games now. They have consistently proven that they can win at a high level in the NCAA tournament. And they went 31-1, which is the best end result of a season, I would say, since 1979 with Indiana State. And so, to me, while it may be draining to sit back and if you are a Zags fan right now, you're looking up probably at the ceiling. In fact, if you're listening to me in the first hour, you probably are still awake or you haven't slept very well and you're already turning on the radio and starting off your morning, and you're wondering, is it ever going to happen for us? And I think that's a fair question, but my answer would be that it's likely that at some point the Zags are going to win a championship. But to me, when that argument is being made, what it is missing is the incredible accomplishment of Baylor, which is one of the most remarkable stories in the history of college basketball. What Scott Drew has done is virtually unprecedented when you consider where he took over, which was after an actual murder in the program. For those of you who have forgotten, the coach before Scott Drew was fired for helping to cover up a murder in the basketball program. And Baylor was such an unmitigated disaster. First year Scott Drew was there, they went 8-21, 3-13 overall. The next year, they went 9-19 and finished 1-15 in conference. So I want you to think about this with me for a second. After 2 years at Baylor, Scott Drew was 4-28. 4-28. And then in year 3, he went 4-12 in the conference, and that got them then 12th place again. Year 4, he went 4-12 in the Big 12 conference again. Guys, he finished 11th, 12th, 12th, and 11th in his first 4 years as the head coach at Baylor, and all of those years, Baylor finished with a losing record. They weren't hoping in those years to make the NCAA tournament. They were hoping that they could maybe make a run in the NIT tournament. And if you were Scott Drew and you looked at those first 4 years, you could probably stare up at the ceiling yourself and say, are we ever going to be able to win at a high level here? And then, at that point in time, after 4 years, Baylor had not been in the NCAA tournament since 1988. And if you looked at their history as a program, you could go back and you could stare at it, and it was not very pretty at all. Baylor had been to the NCAA tournament in 1946, 1948, 1950, and 1988. That was it. 4 NCAA tournament appearances in the history of the program, none in 20 years when Scott Drew took Baylor to the NCAA tournament in 2008. It was an incredible accomplishment for Baylor, and they lost. Then the next year they went to the NIT. The year after that was when Baylor finally started putting it all together in a really big way. 5, 6, 7, 7th year that Scott Drew was at Baylor, they had a run to the Elite Eight. And that obviously had never happened in the modern history of Baylor basketball. And they just kept plugging away. And this year, they made the run past the Elite Eight, first trip to the Final Four in the modern era, 28-2 overall record, 13-1, and they finish first in college basketball. But look at what Scott Drew had to accomplish. Look at what he had to get his guys to buy into in order to make this happen. And it is truly one of the greatest jobs of coaching that we have ever seen, not just because it ended in a national championship, but because of where it began. Think about this. Baylor, in their history as a program playing basketball, had 4 NCAA tournament trips when Scott Drew took over. He has now taken them to 9 NCAA tournaments since he took over, which is nearly over double what they had ever achieved in their history as a program. I really think you can make the argument, and it's not a crazy one, that relative to program expectations, Scott Drew is the greatest coach of his era in college basketball. Again, relative to program expectations. This is not Roy Williams, who I know just retired. By the way, Hubert Davis officially announced as the UNC coach. It's not Kentucky with John Calipari, or Rick Pitino for that matter. It's not Kansas with Bill Self or Roy Williams or all the guys, Larry Brown, that won at a high level at Kansas over the years. This is Baylor, one of the least winningest programs in Big 12 basketball history. A team that when Scott Drew took over was on NCAA probation because of a murder and lying about it. And he led them in the space of 18 years from one of the ugliest moments in college basketball history to one of the proudest moments in college basketball history. And in so doing, he did what rarely occurs, which is take a team that has never won an NCAA tournament championship before and had them win a championship. And he beat an undefeated Gonzaga team in order to do so. And oh, by the way, one of the most dominant runs in the Final Four that we have seen in modern history. Baylor joins 2018 Villanova as the only team since the tournament expanded in 1985 to win both the national semifinal and the national championship game by more than 15 points. This is one of the all-time great coaching performances. And again, I understand because I was, in many ways, like a lot of you, hoping that the Zags might go out there and win this national championship so we could talk about where a 32-0 Gonzaga team ranks all time as they become the first undefeated champion since 1976. Instead, they are Indiana State the 1979 team that got to the NCAA title game and lost and finished with only one blemish on their record. But none of this takes away from what was an incredibly phenomenal season from both these teams. And I do think, by the way, that the NCAA, which I know gets ripped on every different angle known to man, does deserve some praise here for managing to complete and crown a champion without any major COVID-related issues. I understand if you're a VCU fan, you're like waving your hand right now and saying, well, by the way, we didn't get to play against Oregon. But I think, obviously, the NCAA tournament would have hoped that they were able to finish both the men's and women's without any games having to get postponed or without having any games having to be forfeited, I should say. But to get to this point, frankly, it's where a lot of the Corona bros out there said you would never be able to do. We have completed, in many ways, a college football and college basketball season, which is what often defines college athletics in general. We have completed both of those seasons without a single player with serious health conditions and without a single coach having serious health conditions either. It's a pretty remarkable achievement when you consider that relative to what everyone out there was trying to tell us was likely to happen if we did make the decision to actually play a full season. It's an incredible accomplishment for the NCAA to get through here, for the city of Indianapolis to host all these different games, and for a champion to truly be crowned. Stanford wins for women, Baylor wins for men, two different private schools that fought through a lot. And I think every coach that was in the NCAA tournament, every coach that managed to complete their season overall, deserves a lot of praise from us, because this was truly a season unlike any other. And I think all the players on those teams also deserve a tremendous amount of praise, because it took a lot of discipline for most of them to be eligible and able to get to this point as well. So, tremendous season for both Baylor and Gonzaga. The final game did not live up to the semifinal game, which I think between UCLA and the Zags, for many people, that Jalen Suggs shot will define this NCAA tournament, even though they ended up coming up short when they actually needed to be able to win a championship there. Dub, what stands out to you about the game now that the tournament is complete? Baylor has been crowned as a champ. To me, all the data I'm just running through is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And when you consider, I mean, they blew out Houston and they blew out an undefeated Gonzaga team. That game last night, I mean, that thing was over in 5 minutes, it seemed like. It never felt like a game.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of CBS Sports executives that were like, oh no, because the truth of the matter is, I think, like, I was talking to some people. I was out eating lunch, and I talked to a couple of people about the game, talked to a couple of people at my gym. There were a lot of people who were not big college basketball fans that became invested in this national title game because they got drawn into UCLA Gonzaga. And that's what usually happens in the NCAA tournament. The audience grows because as you get into these big games, people become more invested with the question of who's going to win a championship. And Baylor just came out so white hot. They hit their first 5 shots that there was never really a moment where you felt like the Zags were going to win this game. I know they cut it to 9, I believe, in the second half, but it never really felt like, okay, this is about to become a game. They never hit that shot. They never made that play that convinced you they were about to make a real run.
Yeah, I agree. And a part of me just feels bad for Gonzaga because, I mean, UCLA was making some of the most insane shots I've ever seen. And then Baylor, they got a bunch of good looks, but it's pretty rare in college basketball for a team to just shoot the lights out of the ball like Baylor did last night. So, you know, when a team shoots like that, you just got to tip your hat to them and move on. But, I mean, a little unlucky for Gonzaga to have their opponent in both the national semifinal game and then last night in the title game to shoot the ball the way that those two teams shot the ball.
Yeah, Baylor finished 10 of 23 and a bunch from three, and a bunch of those misses came late after the game had basically already been decided. They nearly shot better from three than they did from the field overall. The Zags shot over 50%. I think if you'd told Mark Few that, he would have been pretty impressed by it. Also, for all the shots and possessions that took place in this game, Baylor only turned the ball over 9 times, and they basically didn't turn the ball over at all in the second half, which was pretty impressive. And they had 18 assists on their 30 made field goals, which is a pretty impressive breakdown in terms of the percentage of shots they were making. And again, they started off 5 of 5 from 3, which really took the game to the Zags, and you never really felt that the Zags really got into it. I didn't think that that Gonzaga was able to really get Timmy involved in a big way. He only finished with 12 points, only got 7 shots. Jalen Suggs' early foul trouble never really kind of put everything together, even though he finished as their leading scorer. And I do think this stat, which we hit you with on Fox Bet Live when I told you that I liked Baylor, and we talked about this yesterday on the show. And by the way, the over not hitting in this game, a little bit criminal down the stretch, no points being scored, no fouls, no like sort of situation like that. But I think this would surprise a lot of people. Teams, at least in my mind, I think when a team wins in overtime, that the momentum is going to carry into the next game. Do you, like in general, in the back of your mind, do you think, oh, that team just won in overtime, well, now they're going to be super hot in the next game because they won such a difficult game, it's going to carry forward? Are you like me that you think would be inclined to believe that that were the case?
Yeah, the logic certainly checks out. And a team like Gonzaga, especially, the number 1 overall seed, undefeated, playing for a title, that would, make sense to me.
Okay. So this stat is pretty great that they one of our researchers found on Fox Bet Live, and you should file it away. In the last 27 NCAA tournament games that a team has won in overtime, in the next game that they play, they are 8-19 straight up, and they lose by an average of just shy of 8 points per game. That's a pretty remarkable stat, I think. 8-19 straight up, not against the number, and they lose by nearly 8 points per game the last 27 games after an overtime win. It's a pretty good sign that emotion, particularly in college football, college football for sure, but also college basketball, can be difficult to rein in. And if you think about it, that shot that Jalen Suggs hit late on Saturday night, how long do you think it took for the Zags to come back down after that made basket? There's no way they slept well on Saturday. Then they're a little bit sore probably from a late night game after 45 minutes of tough basketball action on Sunday, and turning around and coming back on that Monday. And I thought it was actually a good point that Grant Hill made during the course of the game. He said it took him a full week to get over the Christian Laettner shot. He said even in the Final Four, when we were playing against Indiana, we were not playing at a really high level early on because there was still a hangover effect from the way that they celebrated that big-time shot by Christian Laettner. And it does, by the way, this 8-19 record make UCLA's run even more impressive because they won in overtime against Michigan State. Then they won in overtime against Alabama. And then they went to overtime again and nearly got the win against the Zags. A part of me does wonder if UCLA had advanced, what would that have looked like in general? Now, I think the basic breakdown here is I don't think that anybody was beating Baylor the way that Baylor played on Monday night. They were just a different level of dominant. And again, Scott Drew deserves incredible credit for not leaving and not going elsewhere when he has had I'm sure, tremendous number of times when he could have gone elsewhere and taken a new job, and he decided not to do it. When we come back, more breakdown, NCAA tournament, big win for Baylor. Let me give you a roadmap of where we are headed, by the way, during the course of today's program as well. My buddy Chad Withrow from the OutKick 360 will join us in the second hour of the program, and that should be a lot of fun to break down the NCAA tournament there. In the third hour of the program, as he typically does, Petros Papadakis, AM 570 LA Sports, will join us and break down everything in the world of Petros, which is often a strange and fun and zany worldview in general. So that is where we are headed throughout the course of the program. But I want to tell you, as the occurrence of identity scams continue to increase, more people are looking for ways to protect themselves from cyber criminals. In fact, 60% of Americans believe it's likely that identity theft will cause them a financial loss in the next year. Yet you put your information in so many places online. Unfortunately, cyber criminals around the world keep finding new ways to steal identities. The all-in-one protection of Norton 360 with LifeLock makes it easy to have protection in the digital world. Device security blocks cyber criminals from stealing personal information on your devices. VPN with bank-grade encryption helps keep the personal information you send over Wi-Fi safe. LifeLock Identity Theft Protection monitors your personal information and alerts you to potential threats to your identity. Plus, no one can prevent all cybercrime and identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But if you have Norton 360 with LifeLock, you can opt into cyber safety. Sign up today and save 25% or more off your first year by going to norton.com/clay. That's 25% off at norton.com/clay. That's my name, CLAY. This is OutKick on Fox Sports Radio.